usually, outside of a pandemic, decisions, whether a decision is being driven by risk factors or by an underlying kind of fear or anxiety, tends to look quite clear cut. This is because there's so much that's so unknown, it does feel very grey. And I think that makes it really tough for people. I think what you've said about conversations is hugely important. A lot of the things that I've been thinking about with the people I work with, first of all, sources of information is really important. So using Bloodwise, talking to your medical team, quite a lot of the time, me and the people I work with will put together sets of questions. And I think that can be really helpful to do with someone else, because one of the ways anxiety wants to stay around, if it's there, it wants to keep its feet under the table. And one of the ways that it can do that is you can get these spiraling thoughts that escalate. And excuse me, what you're thinking about or what the anxiety is pushing you towards is not impossible, and it's not silly. It's just, as Andy was talking about, kind of the way up. It's moving too far down one route. So if you, thought about your risk too much, about how dangerous it is walking down the street because you might get run over by a car, which you could do, you might never leave your flat. However, you'd miss out on the joy of being alive if you never left the flat. So the risk of, yes, but I'll walk on the pavement and I'll cross the road. And I know that that's a silly example, but I think that that's a really obvious way of illustrating when a genuine concern, I'm not going to play on the M25. Yep, sensible. That's thinking about what I need. And when it can kind of end up in the nth degree. So the things that help, yes, so definitely where your sources of information are from. Thinking about what the underlying question is you've got, because if it's, am I going to be 100% safe? It's really difficult, but no, because we're not ever 100% safe from the environment. And it's about finding that balance. I would say if, it's not suitable or someone doesn't feel it's too much of a risk to be going back to work, I think that's, all depends on individuals. That's perfectly sensible. I think one of the other things people can start thinking about is, as the rates come down, if you've been able to have a vaccine, etc., what are the things that I could safely do? So if you've been not going for a walk in the park on a Saturday, what would it be like pushing yourself to do something, not something risky, not something that you're really uncomfortable with, but maybe pushing that anxiety a little bit, because it's really hard shielding. It's being isolated, but it can also end up as a sort of, or certainly what I've been told by the people I work with, is it can feel like a safe cage almost. It's not that people want to stay there and they'd love to be able to go out and see people, but it also does feel safe and it feels a bit protected. And I think it's important to remember that you don't have to go from not, entirely shielding to working in an office with 45 people and getting on the tube every day. That would be too big a jump, even if it, from a purely psychological point of view, that would be a lot to ask yourself to do. So thinking about taking those little steps, what is safe but might feel a little bit challenging? What can I do to make that feel manageable, and so that I can push myself to do it, so that the world outside stops becoming this kind of scary, threatening place, which I think it would be very understandable if that's how people felt about it, because that's what we've been told for so long.